Hi everybody, Adam here. Welcome back to our Lego room. Today we're looking at 3 Lego train sets, set number 60051 that I have picked up from Bricklink. I am now facing the sort of challenge or quandary that as we add more and more locomotives to our collection and try to expand out our trains, we are in a constant state of needing, additional power functions, additional powered up, motors, and now starting to need some 9-volt motors as well, which is ultimately challenging. The powered up isn't too bad to find these days, but any power functions and 9-volt train motors, etc., are fairly hard to come by these days. And, for any given power functions train, I need the train motor and the IR receiver at a minimum. I've got quite a few battery boxes and I can swap those around with greater ease between different trains, but it becomes much harder when you're talking about the train motor and the IR receiver. Not really wanting to have to move those around from train to train as I'm looking to run different trains around the layout. So that leaves me in the position of either buying sets that have the power functions, motors, etc. in them, which I can then use in our own trains, or I'm buying used train motors on Bricklink, which scares me a fair bit. I think it's a necessary thing for the time being when it comes to the 9-volt trains for the most part. But with power functions, not really sure whether buying used motors is that great a deal. You never really know how much sort of punishment or use the motor has been put through, how, reliable it is ultimately going to be. Now I'm starting to look a little bit at other options that are basically power functions, but put together either, I think there's a number of Chinese versions that you can buy now to use in your trains. And there's some other people who are offering their own versions of power functions as well. So this is kind of the dilemma and the reason why I picked up, part of the reason why I picked up these 3 copies of Lego set 60051. Ultimately it's going to be nice to add 3 additional cars to the interior of our version of this train on the layout here. It'll help extend that train out. But the most valuable part of these sets is going to be the power functions that are contained inside. This will allow us to power up a couple more trains, likely, and, extend our motorized train collection a little bit further. So let's open up these sets and grab the power functions out so we can take a look at the key parts that they come with that I'm interested in. So I've opened the 3 copies of this set up so you guys can see some of the key parts that are contained in here. One thing that I forgot that was a benefit of this particular train set here is that it comes with the Lego Straight Track, which is super cool. That gives us an extra 4 per set, so 12 Lego Straight Tracks. Super useful. I use those in conjunction with my Tricks Bricks tracks all around the layout here in the room. Now, one of the key pieces that comes in here is the IR receiver. So the Power Functions IR receiver, which allows the controller to send signals to the train to start and stop. So super useful to get another one of that, and there's one per box. So we've got 3 of those. In terms of the other power functions bits that come with these sets, these are obviously the primary thing that I'm looking for, the train motors in this particular case. We have a mix of locomotives. Some take train motors, some take different power functions sized motors. Regardless of that, these are going to be super useful, and I've got really, they're all going to be accounted for before they even arrive in the room here. We've had the trains sort of earmarked for them. One's going into the Santa Fe. One will be going into likely the second Union Pacific car. We're going to add a second motor in basically there. And I will probably swap the third one into the main unit for the Union Pacific to just give it a completely new set of motors. And then we'll take the one that was in the Union Pacific locomotive and we'll probably add it to the other end of this train here. I don't think it's going to really be too stressful on the train having an additional 3 cars in there, but we'll see. Depending on how things work out, we may use that motor elsewhere, but I think it would be nice to give the Union Pacific 2 fresh motors basically to get going with. That really just barely scratches the surface. There's a lot of different spots where we could use additional train motors like this. But we'll talk more about that in a moment. So obviously the train motors are the big draw here. We've got fresh new ones. We've got the IR receivers here as well as the straight track, which is nice. We get additional controllers. Not a big deal. I've got a ton of these controllers around. So not a critical piece of kit here, but we will keep them. We'll use them someday, I'm sure. We get the additional magnetic couplers, so that'll be nice. Definitely we'll have uses for those in some of the different locomotives and train cars that we are building out. Not as concerned with the wheels, but the motor boxes, or not battery boxes, are a cool addition as well. Not super valuable, but always useful to have more battery boxes at our disposal when we're taking trains out to shows to run. You can never basically have enough battery packs that you can do swaps with on trains that are running around the layout. So some key pieces here, but it really all comes back to the train motors and the IR receivers. Everything else is just kind of a nice gravy extra. These curve tracks, we've got so many of these old Lego curve tracks. Not entirely sure what we're going to do with those. I have seen some interesting buildings and different structures. Train station, train shed builds that make use of these curved tracks. So I think we're going to have to look into something like that to start to use these up a little bit because we're getting a little overrun with them. We've got a lot from all the different train sets over the years. And then, like I said, we're going to build out the 3 interior cars to add to our existing high-speed passenger train. I think that'll look cool. In general, looking for ways to stretch out and make our trains around the layout a little bit longer. I think that'll be, a nice addition for this particular train. But ultimately, a very expensive and difficult way to try to acquire motors that, one can have confidence in terms of how, the condition they're in, how long they should ultimately run for. So if people have suggestions on particular train motors they've picked up from third-party, retailers, really happy to hear what you guys recommend. Definitely want to keep picking up Lego motors and, equipment wherever we can. But, in a spot like this where power functions has been gone for a while now, you reach a point where you need to augment that a little bit just so that you can keep everything running and to really expand out, or continue to expand out our motorized train collection. So hoping, there'll be some suggestions in the comments below. There are a few sites that I'm going to try out likely on my own, and we will report back with videos here on the channel with how those go and work. But definitely something top of mind for me at the moment as we are building a large number of locomotives and really trying to get as many motorized trains in general, on and around the layout here. So, we're basically, in a perfect world, I'd be getting like another half dozen of these motors and some of the other motors that I think we'll be using in some of these trains. But, that's definitely not something that's going to be doable under this current approach, or at least not for a while. So really interested to see what we can do here as we continue to build out our collection, and interested to hear what people have to say in the comments below. Now, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please make sure to do so that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. A lot of cool projects going on around the Lego room. As I said, a lot of trains getting built or extended out. A lot of mills work going on around the tabletop layout, as well as the new lower level layout, and a lot of other things on the horizon as well. So definitely don't want to miss out on any of those. So hit that subscribe button, like I said, and we will see you guys again soon. Take care. Bye.